Naofumi Iwatani, the shield hero, is on the run. He recalls how a former ally betrayed him, framing him for kidnapping Melty, the princess of the country of Melromark, which forced him into a desperate escape. He's accompanied by Raphtalia, Philo, and Melty as they dodge pursuers sent by Motoyasu Kitamura, the spear hero, who continues to chase them, convinced of his righteousness. Despite the tarnished reputation he carries, Naofumi is determined to protect those he has come to care for, like Raphtalia. He describes her as his dependable partner who fights by his side, though initially bought as a slave due to necessity. Philo, in her childlike energy and curiosity, adds lightness to their grueling situation, but there's an ever-present danger looming over them. On the run from their pursuers, Naofumi recounts the confrontation involving Bitch, whose real name is Molty Est's Melromark. Molty seeks to hinder their escape by setting the forest on fire, forcing Naofumi and his group to flee. To stave off the fire's threat, Melty uses water magic, and with Naofumi's strategic guidance, they manage to escape, though the danger remains close. The team pushes forward, aiming to find safety in an unfamiliar territory beyond Melromark's borders. They cleverly use a shadow, a stealthily camouflaged ally, to navigate around potential roadblocks and obstructions, probing for a safe crossing. Their plan involves seeking refuge in a town predominantly populated by demi-humans, hoping for friendlier reception. As they proceed, Naofumi learns about a noble family related to Melty who once advocated for demi-human rights. Melty reflects on how her country's rulers have mistreated her family's legacy, unleashing turmoil and reinforcing spite. Yet, a glimmer of hope may lie in an unassuming escape toward allies willing to champion their cause. Upon reaching the town borders, Raphtalia shares disappointment and disbelief, knowing the shield hero isn't widely trusted in Melromark. Despite the wariness directed at her companion, Raphtalia steps out to connect with resistant demi-human adventurers, relaying a conversation that leaves Naofumi both apprehensive and resolute. In these moments filled with mistrust, Naofumi steels himself, ready to face what comes in their relentless flight, and whatever ails this ragtag team home away from home. Naofumi, still wary due to his past experiences, is in a conversation with Melty, who recalls hearing tales of the shield hero keeping away from demi-humans. Naofumi, puzzled, doesn't remember such orders from the past. Melty connects the dots to her old beliefs about the shield hero encouraging avoidance of demi-humans. As Naofumi considers the situation, they notice villagers acting unusually friendly. The church has branded them as heretics, which explains the odd treatment as supporters of the shield hero. Hearing this, they discuss how to move forward safely. Suddenly, they hear someone calling out. It's a noble figure named Melty's friend, who seems trustworthy but cautious. He invites them to a more secure location, expressing concerns about causing a stir if they're spotted. As they move, Naofumi deals with tension between himself, Melty, and this noble, persistently referred to as nice guy. Accusations fly about perspective and humility, with nice guy hinting the narratives about Naofumi could vary greatly in reputation. Riding in a carriage, Naofumi observes their surroundings filled with demi-humans. The simple courtyards give way to discussions with the noble about strategies to manage their current predicament and possibly communicate with the queen. As they settle, Melty reflects on how her character developed during the journey. This introspection illuminates her realization of her true nature, surfaced thanks to traveling with Naofumi. The dynamic and past clashes with her wanted sister fuel their mission to prove Naofumi's innocence. Meanwhile, melting tension leads to insightful talks about evolving views and trust. Philo and Melty engage in light-hearted yet biting exchanges, showcasing Melty's character shift and Naofumi's ongoing distrust issues, despite his reliance on allies like Raphtalia. While they relax, Raphtalia offers Naofumi peace of mind, encouraging him to fully trust their safety. Naofumi acknowledges Raphtalia's importance on this treacherous journey, her exposure and experience elevating his trust levels. As Naofumi rests, the unease remains palpable. Raphtalia, now awake, signals her agreement to Naofumi's decision to let Melty choose their actions, emphasizing her wish to cleanse accusations against Naofumi by reuniting with her father and testifying her tale to serve truth and justice. However, a swift transition occurs when a carriage belonging to a noble neighbor points toward danger. Naofumi, Raphtalia, Melty, and Philo prepare to fight. They're cornered when soldiers from this noble family confront them. The urgency is clear. Naofumi must act discreetly to ensure none face further peril. Tensions peak with epiphanies about determination, ditching neutrality for active schemes against oppressors. Melty becomes emboldened in her intent to address her father directly. Yet, Raphtalia strategically stalls further action while they brainstorm safer alternatives. The prelude to conflict ends. Naofumi scrambles to shield Melty from the emergent skirmish, ultimately facing the unyielding truth behind their perceived support, an eventual betrayal. While mid-plot frustrations amplify, their close-knit formation seeks clarity, solving dissension over complex loyalties as they set off into uncertainty, guided by unseen forces towards eventual alliances through recollection and sheer necessity, eluding political chaos. The story unfolds as Naofumi and his companions, Raphtalia and Philo, arrive in the town. Memories flood back to Naofumi of the past injustices faced by demi-humans here. Once in, they're greeted with all but clear disdain, save from a figure Naofumi refers to as nice guy, who discreetly helped them before. Contemplating their next steps, Naofumi amends his trust strategy. Relying on prior knowledge from Nice Guy, he prepares to explore the mansion, assumed to house Melty, the captive princess. They follow a trail to the mansion, which looms amid perceived hostility. Realizing the mansion's strategic role, Naofumi plans their approach. Raphtalia casts a spell, darkening their surroundings to obscure their advance. Navigating these tense moments reveals Raphtalia's troubling connection to a noble she recalls vividly. Before jumping into action, voices and conflicts outside unsettle the group. The town's guards engage in chaos, driven by rumors involving Naofumi. Inside the mansion, they're guided by a simplistic map, but encounter monstrous guards known as Guardia. The Guardia are unnerving, prompting Raphtalia to silence one efficiently. Breaking into the mansion's confines involves distraction, a sketch map, and suppressed fears of the presence of old tormentors. This noble figure, now enemy, has history with Raphtalia, increasing the urgency to save Melty. Naofumi urges action, leveraging his party's strengths. Infiltrating deeper, guards, accustomed to the hysterical happenings, scatter throughout as Naofumi confronts the nobleman. Parceling through dilemmas, Naofumi's swell of anguish at being suspected unaided infuses his plan. Employing tactical spells such as Air Strike Shield, Naofumi endeavors for Melty's safety, ultimately destabilizing the noble's grasp. Philo's direct hit is decisive. Melty's liberation prompts a rapid moral collision with darkness from Raphtalia's past surfacing. Between her familiar plea for justice and the endangerment personified by the noble, a confluence of power occurs. Raphtalia, strengthened with Naofumi's encouragement, expresses unchecked resolve. If revenge is prologue, then deliverance is bittersweet resolution. Raphtalia, erupting with calculated determination, lashes against the oppressor. The villain's history and hubris escalate until chains of control are metaphorically severed by their ferocity and timing. Amidst boiling perplexity and accusations of duplicity, tension crescendos. The shrouds of fate conceal yet are transparent to intrinsic courage. Naofumi enjoins Raphtalia, contriving a harmonious symphony of strength, as his grip collides with destiny. The final harrowing battle against the noble underscores belief. Raphtalia's triumph caps years of sublimated hurt. At the precipice of vindication, balance wrestles with chaos, she affirms humanity against collapse. Salvation, laced through a shield of steely affirmation, prevails amid impossible odds. The story ends burgeoning the heralded trust among the heroes, insisting upon survival and futures bound by trust, understanding, and unyielding justice. As the group enters the basement room, they're hit by a foul, acrid stench. It recalls the dark memories of a slave trader's tent. This oppressive odor sets an unwelcome tone. Philo instinctively reacts, showing her discomfort. Yet, she regains her composure, preparing for what they might discover. They descend into the shadows, Raphtalia guiding them. The basement is filled with disturbing relics of the past, including a skeletal corpse. Raphtalia identifies it as Rafana, a dear friend from her village. Overcome with emotion, she begins to pray. Witnessing Raphtalia's sorrow, Melty finds tears in her own eyes, overwhelmed by the tragic sight of someone so young and innocent, cruelly stolen by cruelty. As they cover Rafana's remains carefully, Keel's unsure voice breaks the stillness. Raphthalia recognizes him immediately, surprised at his survival. Keel is in ragged shape, evidence of brutal mistreatment present in his dog-like ears and emaciated build. He can barely believe his eyes, finding it hard to reconcile the mature and strong Raphthalia with his memories of her. "It really is you, Raphthalia?" he asks with rising hope. They share this brief reunion amidst the turmoil. Naofumi administers some aid to the shaky boy, reflecting on the severity of the circumstances they've stumbled into. Melty's youthful understanding of this injustice erupts with indignation. "You have to be more hysterical. Why not scream?" she exclaims, struggling to make sense of such barbarity. Continuing their escape, Naofumi realizes the urgency as blood seeps through the stairs. They rush to the courtyard, anxious about the developing chaos. Laughter erupts unexpectedly from the corpse of the nobleman. To everyone's horror, he's been resurrected, intent on releasing some sealed monstrosity, claiming, "I am a righteous man." Thinking quickly, Nice Guy gathers their small ensemble, attempting to stop the noble's ominous spell. They rush to fight him down, Raphthalia and Philo brimming with determination. The battle seems set to tear the space apart as the ground quakes beneath them. Suddenly, a massive shadow looms, a sinister presence breaking free. A dinosaur, seemingly as if a myth, rises mightily. Naofumi confronts the predicament. Fighting such a monstrous beast and protecting everyone becomes an immediate test of courage. As the members rally, Naofumi is impressed by Philo's agility and valor as she emerges confident in taking the beast head-on. The tyrant dragon Rex, Rage Incarnate, appears unstoppable. Philo tries to maneuver the creature out of town, using herself as bait. They need to lure it to safer ground, away from the town's helpless occupants. Keel, still recovering, is left in capable hands. Meanwhile, Raphthalia exudes determination, aware of what she must protect. The pursuit outside the town becomes frantic, the group must create enough distance to strategize. Naofumi considers the stakes and evaluates their options against this monumental foe. Myriad strategies cross his mind as they struggle against the gargantuan being. Rapid steps and seismic tremors accompany them, each second feels precariously balanced on a knife's edge. Finally, on reaching relative safety, they leap into the action. Raphthalia and Melty engage with what seems a force of nature, powerful attacks delivering minimal impacts. The shield of rage pulses with a menacing aura, awaiting Naofumi's decision. Tension reaches its peak as the beast's tenacity only mounts further. With Philo in the lead, Naofumi races against overwhelming odds. His mind whirs in frantic search for the right approach, pondering the shadow of rage and the role everyone is poised to assume. Rapid developments and potential breakthroughs hang tightly bound in raw determination. As their surroundings shift, those gathered find new dynamics forming, unity and desperation unfurl in turn. Only grit and ingenuity will shine beneath the oppressive shadow of the tyrant dragon Rex. The narrative pushes onward with unrelenting energy and complexity, the voices of hope threaded among the detailed chaos that encapsulates their struggle. A story of intricate character dynamics and engrossing actions continue to develop under these pressures. In the midst of a thickly wooded area filled with enchantment and mystery, the tension is palpable as Naofumi Iwatani, the shield hero, and his companions navigate their uncertain surroundings. As they stand amidst peculiar, flickering forest lights, Naofumi recalls a foreboding legend about this forsaken place. Crossing the forest binds you back to where you began, hinting at some sinister trap perhaps set by a powerful, unseen force. He ruminates over a chilling thought: what if some all-seeing entity orchestrates these deadly trials? Amidst his musings, the atmosphere tightens when a menacing dinosaur-like creature appears with clenched jaws aimed threateningly at Naofumi and his group. Desperate to defend, Naofumi reaches for his shield of rage, but a mysterious voice interrupts, a voice that instructs restraint, urging him not to tap into the darker powers of his shield. Regardless, the situation leaves him no choice. The imposing dinosaur rears, only to be intercepted by Philo, the loyal Philolial of Naofumi's party. With a fearless spinning aerial kick, she jolts the beast backward, leaving her companions in astonished relief. Yet, the threat is far from over. The intense encounter draws in a substantial number of Philolials, swarming the scene in a way that seems oddly orchestrated. What feels stranger still is one different shade among them, a Philolial unlike others, its plumage a light blue, almost as unique as its crowned head feather highlighted with a precious stone. This discovery is like a revelation, and Naofumi suddenly recognizes this Philolial from his past encounters. It is Vittoria, the legendary Philolial queen. In awe of her presence and power, they hear Vittoria speak, commanding the dinosaur with a daunting prospect, "Give up the fragment now, I'll let you go." Vittoria, boasting an intimidating height and aura, doesn't hesitate to employ physical force, launching the dinosaur skyward with her unbelievable strength. Several resounding hits later, the dinosaur collapses in defeat, engulfed in the fiery wrath of a spell. After the battle, as calmness returns, Melty gazes at the enormous Philolial queen in sheer admiration, resembling a star-struck child. It's not every day they get to witness such a celestial creature exercising raw might. Vittoria, with her divine presence, picks up the shimmering stone left by the fallen tyrant Dragon Rex and welcomes Naofumi succinctly with a courteous, "Sorry I kept you waiting." Turns out, Vittoria is a regal figure, as capable with words as she is with her formidable abilities. Not only does she transport Naofumi and his group to safety using her intriguing carriage, her magical prowess even extends to conjuring and teleporting them across great distances seamlessly, revealing her serene insight into ancient histories known to few. Vittoria, it becomes evident, embodies the centuries-old power associated with legendary tales of Philolials battling destructive threats. Concerned about tournament of strength broader than the immediate battle, Vittoria muses over the other legendary heroes, an indirect nudge at her strategic thinking. She possesses a depth of character that balances her majestic, ostentatious presence. Also, she emphasizes to Naofumi the necessity of raising their awareness and preparedness in light of looming worldwide threats. As evening falls, they set camp under the calming gaze of night skies, where Naofumi focuses on preparing a stew with tyrant Dragon Rex meat. Each character nestles into moments of serene reflection. Here, the dialogue transitions from battlefields to culinary critique, peppered with friendly banter. Melty and Philo's shared admiration for their heroic feast is reciprocated by Naofumi's subtle acknowledgement of their companionship. Late in the night, as calm washes over the campfires and sleeping Philolials, Naofumi and Vittoria share a quiet conversation. Teasing queries about the world's hidden gems, mischievously, she inquires how much Naofumi knows about Philolials and their potential, a secretive nod to larger enigmas in her realm. She hints at newer mysteries, a tale of a budding Philolial queen candidate. Philo, overshadowed by these legends, still carries untold potential valued by Vittoria's ancient wisdom. This quiet encounter with Vittoria stirs Naofumi's contemplation, a beckon towards understanding life under her guidance and her shrewd guardianship over world balance. With choices unfolding, Naofumi must weigh her secretive intel against looming conflicts, bolstering their commitment to unravel new paths together. It seems Vittoria is not just part of quaint legends, she is a pivotal, living element of an expansive universe that Naofumi, the shield hero, is just beginning to venture through, an uncanny reminder of how ancient powers weave through everyday events, pushing the group one step closer to a fate upon dawn's edge. As our story unfolds, the legendary Philolial Vittoria is deep in conversation with Naofumi Iwatani. Vittoria, revealing her vast knowledge of the world, speaks with a calm yet authoritative air. She says, "I know you're a hero that was summoned because of the waves." Naofumi is curious, how could she know? Vittoria explains she was informed by another Philolial. Naofumi is in awe of how well Philolials can communicate, sharing crucial information seamlessly. He candidly confesses to not knowing about his own summoning's wider implications. "I'm not all-powerful," he says. "I forget things a lot." Vittoria assures him, "You said it, not me." Then, the conversation turns to the tyrant Dragon Rex, which Naofumi dealt with previously. Expressing shock at the dragon's revival, Naofumi shares his surprise at the strength he found necessary to deploy in order to vanquish it. In return, Vittoria drops a bombshell. She too carried out tasks as her master once did, preserving peace, curtailing hero conflicts, duties that transcend individual cultures among humans and demi-humans alike. With profound wisdom, Vittoria says, "From my perspective, the little fights between humans and demi-humans are irrelevant. This world was built for a greater harmony," she muses, something Naofumi recognizes is sorely lacking. Naofumi questions Vittoria about the holy heroes, but she critically notes their inactivity. The four heroes are not doing their part, she states. It's a concern she voices when mentioning that other hourglasses exist. Such defense mechanisms were not often discussed. Do the four holy heroes know about the hourglasses? Vittoria inquires. This dialogue reveals an ignorance hidden within the heroic role that Naofumi has inhabited. Even the shield techniques, strong and varied, require understanding. Vittoria teaches Naofumi about the Curse series. The Shield of Rage, she probes. Have you used it? Vittoria's knowledge of the heroes is thorough, and she shares insights about the dangers of reliance on power born of hatred. The shield might, under pressure, control Naofumi instead. Yet, understanding these powers means he'll better command them when truly necessary. Naofumi reflects, longing to separate the shield's power from his dependency. Suddenly, there's a shift. Reinforcements might not solely come from power, but from unity. Conflicted, Naofumi knows trust in others and assuming such unifying roles defy his solitary nature. He thinks, considering Vittoria's advice deeply as he wrestles with potential cooperation with the other heroes, an alliance against the terrorizing waves. The fear of danger persists, recognizing betrayal that once led to assassins hunting him on charges of kidnapping Princess Melty. Filing resolve beside unwillingness, Naofumi sees a chance glow in Melty's hopeful voice. She hadn't met an ally like Vittoria before, someone unconventionally navigating the divide among species with resounding dignity. Vittoria's wisdom and expectations weigh heavily, leading Melty to beg Naofumi to heed them. Vittoria's tasks aren't simply executed, they enshroud massive ramifications for peace. As the scorching tension rises between Vittoria and them, specifically Philo, Vittoria delves more tactically toward a matter involving Philo. Please listen to me, Vittoria implores, demanding the forging of alliances. Dawning seriousness manifests in the air, as it's clear a race won't solve their challenges. The battle dawning now involves cooperation. Vittoria formulates a test. Intriguingly, Philo would engage her in combat in human form in order to reveal both their truths. Determined to tackle the trial, Vittoria and Philo stood poised under looming skies. Philo's resolve matches Vittoria's apparent might as the match unfurls. Surrounded by Philolials of legend, an audience wades amongst suspense. Each test attack executed by Philo is countered with trained ease by Vittoria, though Philo brims with potential. What emerged from this challenge wasn't mere comparison of strengths, each played into mutual discovery. Philo bravely executes moves beyond her norm. It's visibly difficult, but Naofumi notices the blend of Vittoria's own subtler teaching. Stresses awaken understanding, building preparation through trial. Philo strains to match rigorous advancement, undaunted as feedback cultivates greater potential. A vibrancy of conflict stations them amidst intensifying elements, and Naofumi knows both aim not just to battle, but to ground unity integral to their collective plight in uniting against the waves. Vittoria, merging lessons with determination, encourages Philo's path, stronger when wielding strategic commands. Emergent victory isn't confined to their field. As heroes, their narratives stretch into teased revelations beyond battle, a core tethering entirety, unyielded, tangled triumph bonds victorious players projecting unlocking harmony across their ever-changing world. Philo is in the midst of an intense but crucial test. Vittoria is pushing her to become stronger for a reason that's not yet entirely clear. As the cage she's trapped in shrinks and the bars start slicing near her, Philo is determined to succeed, shouting, I'm not losing." Each scar she suffers regenerates as if reminding her of the stakes involved. Melty is at risk, and losing is not an option. When Philo attacks with all her might, her fists collide with Vittoria's stomach, but it seems futile. Vittoria calmly acknowledges the hit, stating, "Yes. That's okay. That's enough," before letting Philo know the test has concluded and Melty is safe. The tension evaporates almost magically as Vittoria instructs Philo on her fighting prowess. It turns out this lesson was more about Philo learning to fight in human form, which could serve her well in battle against human opponents. Vittoria advises her to stay flexible in tactics, a valuable insight that becomes all the more real when Vittoria places a tiara on Philo, naming her the future queen of the Philolials. As the tiara's magic turns a strand of Philo's hair into a permanent cowlick, and Philo grows excited and a bit confused by this transformation, another lesson is subtly offered. Growth can be both a blessing and a burden. The tiara emboldens Philo with new strengths and abilities but also marks her for a greater destiny, just like her losses and scars. Vittoria also turns her attention to Naofumi, touching his shield to unlock another form, the Philolial series. This new power branch aligns him even closer to Philo, signifying the bond and trust between them. Still, another weight rests upon Naofumi's shoulders, as Vittoria tells him the world's situation is becoming too dire for quarrels among heroes. Like what? Naofumi inquires about the impending threats. Vittoria warns that the sanctuary zones she's been safeguarding are in real danger, hinting at an inevitable choice between self-preservation and world-saving duties. Despite their complex trials and teachings, the day closes with a bright scene. Philo, now recognized as potential royalty, is celebrated by other Philolials. Melty watches in awe, and Naofumi contemplates the changes within and around him. The harmonious interaction with the Philolial queen actuates reassurance, securing brief but much-needed peace for Naofumi's exhausted group. Later, they discuss the revelations Vittoria left them with. Naofumi ponders the gravity of their mission and whether truth would have powerfully shifted perceptions of him among the other heroes. Vittoria provided the guidance he needs to face future challenges head-on. We had to break through. To push forward. No matter the consequences. This resolve embodies the essence of Naofumi's path as they prepare to confront their challenges at the border. Even with odds continuously stacked, the sentiments learned from Vittoria fuel a resolve that doesn't waver. Throughout emotional exchanges and profound farewells as the heroes part ways, the words ring in Naofumi's ears, holding anticipation for battles unresolved and bonds only beginning to root. Naofumi is caught off guard as Motoyasu, brandishing his spear, launches an escalating series of attacks using a peculiar combo magic. Suspended in a state of confusion, Naofumi isn't sure what Motoyasu's intentions are. He watches his companion Melty as she examines an imposing cage formed by the magic, dubbed the lightning cage. The cage is designed to capture anyone reliant on magic, a tool of formidable constraint against Naofumi's group. Melty works to bring clarity to the situation, explaining that this trap is specifically made for pinning wizards and magic users in place. Naofumi realizes the implications: they're ensnared without the rights to freedom. Attempting to diffuse the tension, Naofumi seeks dialogue, but Motoyasu, empowered by recent revelations fed by Bitch and her allies, remains resistant to reason. Raphtalia, standing protectively beside Naofumi, unsheathes her blade, ready for impending confrontation. Naofumi advises her to focus on defense while Melty tackles the problem of dismantling the cage. There's a noticeable undercurrent of tension as they're pinned between defensive action and strategic escape. Motoyasu is still bent on clearing away any doubts. His belief in the supposed truth he's learned blinds him to the intricate reality of Bitch's manipulations. He's absolutely driven by what Naofumi recognizes as contrived loyalty, a dangerous conviction backed by Bitch, the complicit princess, and the king. These provocations draw Naofumi deeper into the complex predicament faced by the heroes, all still attempting to prevent calamity. Motoyasu's obstinance reflects a divide even among the heroes, the mantle appearing imperfect and stained by persisting belief systems. Naofumi wrestles internally with the clarity that his efforts have been subjugated under false pretenses, tragically entertaining the misguided thoughts seeded by Bitch. Meanwhile, Melty works tirelessly to dismantle the lightning cage, a breather afforded only by the tenacity with which Philo and Raphtalia stand guard. Motoyasu's quick succession of skills makes every decision critical, forcing Naofumi to adopt both a considerate and wary stance against the combative shield wielder. The escalating skirmish gathers intensity as Naofumi draws deeper into the heart of confrontation, resolute in defending against Motoyasu's aggressive pursuit. Motoyasu, empowered by magic-born fervor, releases a destructive combo, Chaos Spear. Rising Dragon Spear, that rakes against Naofumi's enduring shield. The fierceness of each volley speaks of a desperate attempt to realize the single truth he believes against overwhelming odds. While Naofumi wrestles with both archaic inclinations and substantive intent, Raphtalia launches into an elegant defensive magic that clings tightly to survival. The bonds of friendship fuel them as the united front of Raphtalia and Melty undulate against Motoyasu's erudition. There lies a calculated attempt in reflecting back what could be a misconception, reminding Motoyasu through melded resilience. As they seize golden moments to compose themselves, these battles shattered by uncertain alliances require quick action, like the desperate casting of Hiding Shield by Naofumi, creating a temporal veil to buy precious seconds. Melty works in constant vigilance, her task ahead monumental in unraveling the intricacies wound tightly around both restraint and intention. Philo finds strength within, the vibrancy of positive emotion reverberates heavily like a steadfast tempest rising against injustices. With wings outspread, Philo charges, gripping Motoyasu, casting all restraint aside, invoking hope within their shared registry of survival instincts. As the magical dome enchants possibility, a deeper instinct melds their mismatched urgency, a mosaic formed from worried breaths in sequence, each move a tribute to the trust placed within. Naofumi handles the expansive vulnerability, each tactic familiar yet unpredictably tested, the welded endurance gathering fierce integrity beneath embattled respect. The combat rages anchored upon these foundations amidst a stage summoning moments waiting in rhythm with battles, symphony unmet by mediated conclusion. They are aligned, fought alongside searched truths, they act without deception's comfort, the bond shared visible with each unified effort remaining. The battle intensifies as Naofumi and his party confront an overwhelming threat. Naofumi stands ready with his shield, aware that a fierce attack is imminent. The shield prison, deployed to protect the group, suddenly shatters under the immense pressure of a powerful force. From his vantage point, Naofumi witnesses Philo stretching her wings protectively around everyone. The high priest, an imposing figure, stands amidst his followers, a sinister smile playing on his lips as if he finds amusement in the chaos. His attack had scorched the field black, and a small asteroid crater appears where they stood. He openly sneers at Motoyasu for failing to fully understand his plan. Naofumi considers the ramifications. Were Ren and Itsuki involved? The high priest speaks ominously about the need for justice and accuses the shield hero of murder. He's insistent about the divine nature of their mission, convinced of the moral superiority of their actions despite the turmoil they've caused. Motoyasu, often naive but now bewildered, can't fathom who among them betrayed the heroes. A heated debate ensues about who is responsible for this madness. Naofumi accuses the church of manipulating Ren and Itsuki, although he admits that even now, they remain unaware of the bigger conspiracies playing out. The high priest presses his claim further. We gathered to save Princess Melty and restore this country, he declares, but the logic betrays itself when juxtaposed against the havoc they've wrought. Tensions rise when the high priest unveils a replica weapon, detailed with intricate designs and radiant with deadly potential. It glows ominously, confirming its destructive capability. Naofumi knows immediately that this weapon could be more than they can handle if they don't neutralize it. He realizes it's a relic of the legendary hero, implying a catastrophic threat. Amidst this turmoil, Naofumi struggles with trust. Yet, even allies in discord must come together. Philo throws Naofumi towards the high priest, where he attempts a different tactic, self-curse burning, a last-ditch effort to break through the priest's defenses. However, the high priest has prepared, a field begins to radiate, unharmed and untouched by the curse. Now facing dire circumstances, support arrives from an unexpected quarter. Motoyasu's party engages, managing to inflict damage through overwhelming force, exposing vulnerabilities in the field. But as they join forces, the high priest counters by transforming the weapon and unleashing another devastating assault. Despite everyone's increasingly desperate measures, the replica weapon wields a force field that deflects all inquiries. Raphtalia, Philo, and Melty show an unwavering commitment, standing beside Naofumi. Their shared courage offers a fleeting balm amid the chaos they can't fully abandon. As the legendary weapon crafts destruction, the arrival of reinforcement spurs a turn. Ren and Itsuki appear, rescuing them from clear defeat. Their presence reignites hope. They immediately challenge the potency of the barrier, working relentlessly to crack the resilient force field with skillful assaults. Understanding the stakes, Naofumi and his allies lay aside their differences with Ren and Itsuki and join their strength in a collective bid. Together, these false rivals challenge the High Priest's machinations, displaying resilience against insurmountable odds. In gripping instances, they overwhelm the field relentlessly through sheer willpower, confronting the mutiny arrayed before them. Deeper bondings deepen within these forged alliances, inciting spirit and incising resolve in unified defiance against deceitful providence. Finally venturing to leverage their unity, they forge onward together, sharing this bond, mutual understanding euchre oppressive odds, and marching steadfastly tower shield spotlights amidst miring mistrust. In the face of overwhelming odds, Naofumi and his allies prepare to attack the High Priest and his disciples. Amidst shouted urgencies, Ren, Itsuki, Motoyasu, Raphtalia, Philo, and Melty join forces, their minds set on a unified mission. "Come on everyone. Let's go," bellows Ren, and the group launches their offensive. Philo charges at the High Priest, thrusting her spear forward, closely followed by Raphtalia. Their weapons clash against the formidable foe as Ren and the others slice through the throng of disciples with urgency and precision. Naofumi watches as the High Priest raised his arms with chilling intent, plotting to unleash the deadly judgment spell. Naofumi realizes that working together is the team's best hope. The High Priest's weapon glows with ominous power. The air thickens with the chanting of the disciples, their voices an echo of fanaticism as they ready for judgment's cast. "This is a holy war. Fight for justice," proclaims the High Priest, yet for Naofumi, it's a frantic bid for survival. The fierce melee commences, and Naofumi calculates their chances. Knowing they can't win through brute strength alone, he devises a plan. It's risky but inevitable. "We can't get an attack in, thank goodness." The heroes are barely holding their own, and even injuring the High Priest seems distant. As Naofumi strategizes, he tells everyone, "I'm going in." His resolve to break through to the High Priest and uses his shield as a means of extreme offense. He employs self-curse burning, braving the frontline chaos to disrupt their recovery magic and provide an opening for a coordinated attack. The air rings with the sound of shouted ability names, as Ren, Itsuki, Motoyasu, and the others unleash their most formidable techniques. Naofumi, incensed with resolve, commands, "Everyone get together." "Wait!" Everyone use Naofumi as a shield. They hadn't planned coordination, but the plan snaps into place amid survival instincts. Magic energy crackles violently as the heroes supercharge their attack. Naofumi takes every technique head-on with his shield. He transforms potential destruction into a coordinated strike against true evil. Miraculously, their force breaches the High Priest's defenses, knocking back the Zealot's disciples. Still, the High Priest is relentless and readies an ultimate attack. Naofumi responds with fervor. Everyone pours more energy into the staggering beam forming from all the hero's skills. It decorates the battlefield with light, pushing slowly, inch by inch, towards its target, embodying the hopes pinned upon this battle being their salvation. But Naofumi understands they could not hold out against the High Priest's imminent counterattack. His mind races, and he switches the Shield of Rage in a gamble to harness its power more effectively. His grip tightens with fierce determination, a reflection of wrath turned into monstrous potential. "I remember everything you taught me," he hears faintly. It's the voice of Raphtalia, her encouraging words hanging delicately amidst the escalating havoc. She remains his anchor as Philo joins and flares to his side, solidifying the hero's unity and shared resolve with her support. As both Naofumi and his allies face the High Priest once again, the one remaining truth offers an abiding resonance: the fight isn't about hatred or revenge. It's survival, the survival of friendships forged under unimaginable pressures and the rebuke of tyrannical oppressions. Despite their exasperation, everyone advances. Philo's attack augments Naofumi's shield defenses against the High Priest's spear lunge. It's remarkably surreal, a ferocity met by unyielding resistance. The ensuing melee is a whirl of magic, writhing metal chains, and tactical exchanges, each intense with the risk of doom. Then, Naofumi calls on the accursed blood sacrifice skill, blood sacrifice. Ua. Through pain and personal cost, it's the sacrificial act, the conjuring of a blood-drained expanse, a literally soul-chilling invocation which ensnares his oppressor. At the climax of all contention, the dragon's jaws snap shut from the ground. Amazed silence fills the battlefield. Stunned, everyone stands aghast at the dreadful clawed jaws looking like it's torn metal fury from Earth's very mantle. And there, amidst tumult, calm eventually descends. They have won. Yet fatigue claims Naofumi, collapsing upon Philo. Melty rushes to his side. She binds, supports with frenzied attentiveness. The High Priest, viciously finally vanquished, has freed them of peril, for now. The given military queen, Queen Morelia, arrives making swiftness-filled commendations, swathed in regal deference. Her presence, the gravity of sheltered might politic and guiding disposition merge with gravity. Her contemplation upon everything halted leans with considered sagacity. But emotions also expand. The wrath somewhat uncloaked with intimate liberation. In her sudden appearance, clarity begins illuminating with conviction. The heroes, though harder intent, have significantly altered the kingdom with courageous gentleness that had overturned hostility's designs. There's still time for recompense in actions yet held within grasp as links knit Talentaries to witchy further unifying alongside. Unity is in the ongoing camp of chaos, change bridges experience shaped to facing fragments resurge assembled in both self and society guarded honorably beyond fate's intended variance. With allies require earnest fortitude, ensuring protected future crafting await, upon solidarity seal moreover the shield shall defend whilst risen compelling domain renewal's advent. As the chaos of battle subsides, Naofumi Iwatani finds himself surrounded by concerned allies. Raphtalia rushes to his side, tears in her eyes. "I thought my heart had stopped," she cries, her relief painting a vivid picture of their bond. Despite wavering in pain, Naofumi assures everyone he's okay, yet the gravity of his injuries can't be ignored. Melty and Philo quickly transform into their human forms to assist him. A sense of urgency fills the air as they help Naofumi onto a carriage. Naofumi reflects on his condition, pondering why he is suddenly receiving so much attention from those around him. "I just want to hear your voice," Raphtalia admits, wrapped in a mix of worry and affection. Her genuine concern speaks volumes. As Naofumi rests, the medics gather, weaving spells to assess the severity of his condition. A curse is mentioned, one so powerful that Naofumi had been unaware of its lingering effect. The medics scramble to initiate the sanctuary preparations, hinting at something sacred and formidable. Struggling to stay conscious, Naofumi fights exhaustion. Burdened by weakness, he voices his desire to sleep, prompting his friends to voice their worries. Despite their pleas, his body gives in, leading him into a deeper rest filled with vulnerability. After 2 days, Naofumi wakes with a groggy start, surrounded by familiar faces. Raphtalia, Philo, and Melty are by his side in a large bed, the sheer size of it practically swallowing them whole. Initially startled, he soon understands that they are stationed in a castle town nearby. The strong curse had necessitated specialized care, and now, with his wounds tended, he feels slightly better despite a lingering weariness. The Queen's businesslike demeanor manages to both reassure and unsettle Naofumi. She inquires about his health, concerned with his recovery. Unsure of her motives, Naofumi remains guarded, especially as she subtly suggests future cooperation. "I would very much like you to be there when my plans are enacted, Mr. Iwatani." The ambiguities leave Naofumi distrustful, suspecting she might have ulterior motives involving the upcoming conflict. Melty hovers close, visibly unnerved by her mother's stern persona. The queen seems to exert an influence built on authority and weighty intentions, yet there is something compelling in the way she addresses Naofumi. He wonders if there is something deeper, some unspoken truth lurking beneath her actions. Amid this intrigue, an unexpected tension hangs in the air when the queen introduces herself formally, almost ceremoniously reprimanding both bitch and trash in front of all present. The audacious confrontation catches everyone off guard, heralding a recalibration of Naofumi's status amongst the other heroes. With curious bravery, she exposes the lies and manipulations that had ensnared the land. In this atmosphere of awakened justice, her words hold tremendous gravity as she declares, "I told you that you were to have authority," contrasting sharply with Trash's denial. As her voice rings out, the echoes of her resolve hammer home the finality of this transformative confrontation. In the delicate exchange that follows, the queen leveraged truth like an unyielding weapon. She silences bitch with a sudden clarity, snapping her fan decisively. Motayasu's confusion rises, embroiled in an emotional crescendo as reality unravels before him. The fantastical claims against Naofumi are disproved through evidence as powerful as truth itself, the slave seal test leaving no room for deceit. This resolves a long-standing tension surrounding bitch's vile accusations. The confirmation reshapes alliances, fragments breaking and reshifting in a symphony of revelation. Naofumi watches with intensity as what once was obscured in deceit lays bare. In these moments of turmoil, what stands out is the immutable loyalty binding his closest allies. Despite the surrounding court of chaos and accusation, there is an unmistakable chord of unity amplifying their strengths. Ultimately, Naofumi's presence becomes a paradox of peace and turmoil, driving forward the complexity of the narrative. As quiet after the storm perseveres, Raphtalia, Philo, and Melty reaffirm their roles as steadfast compatriots against the uncertain storm encroaching their world. In retrospect, all these events expose the constant shift of power and trust. Words catalyze change, but as promises form and fade, Naofumi's journey weaves the threads of deception, loyalty, and valiant truth. Amidst this ongoing navigation through complication, what truly anchors is connection, honesty, and the indomitable spirit marking each of their cores beyond what any curse or drama could ever sever. The scene begins with a sense of frustration lingering in the air. Naofumi, the shield hero, reflects on how the queen confirms neither her husband, King Alt-Cray, nor her daughter Multi, dismissively called bitch by Naofumi and others, would be considered part of the royal family. The queen's authoritative presence is felt as she insists on ultimate decisions. Both bitch and Alt-Cray, referred to as trash, protest in disbelief. However, the queen remains stern, having reached the limits of her patience after their countless transgressions. She grumbles, noting these uncouth actions had to be resolved before hoping to reconcile further. Naofumi is visibly relieved by the queen's decisiveness. He sees this as an improvement from the chaos they endured. However, he stands cautious, pondering the broader implications. The root issue she addresses is whether the royals would continue their governance or if a new ruler, like Melty, might take control. The queen sternly addresses the kingdom's troubles, questioning whether Naofumi would consider forgiveness if the royal offenders had admitted their crimes and sought redemption. Naofumi is contemplating the weight of leadership. The murmur implies that Melremark's governance had led to grievances due to its long-standing connections with inspired factions known to be problematic. The situation escalates as discussions center around past events where numerous countries were involved concerning the summoning of heroes. Naofumi attends closely, particularly as the plan had implausibly expanded to thwart a complete catastrophe. All must soon agree, navigating these tensions carefully. The queen fervently refutes the notion of her kingdom accepting solely demi-humans, which would deeply affect Naofumi. It is underscored how intensely the division runs and how previous attempts to build alliances backfired treacherously. A wave of realizations dawns on Naofumi and the other heroes at this reveal. There's a broader context of historical disputes involving the summoning of heroes. The queen divulges her contention that the secretive summoning needed international clarity to prevent disasters looming from subterfuge motives. All this ties into the burdensome task of managing perceptions of favoring different hero factions, including within Naofumi's world where conflicts about reliable alliances versus conniving hers still pervade. Motoyasu's bewilderment surfaces when the conversation fosters around recognizing implicit politics, how hidden agendas overshadow intent even in an ordinary homecoming, the setup of heroes trying to unite their acts. The queen moves to absolve Naofumi, outright declaring royal neglect necessitated punitive consequences due to the compounding veiled methods had undone kingdom stability and urged hero collectivism. Characters wrestle between discernment and annoyance as civil injustice erupts from the kingdom frantically to renounce dark practices. The reset is unwritten yet emphasized that past grievances shouldn't loose ends. Naofumi appreciates the honesty introduced with the queen standing forms austerely, conjuring unapologetically issued penalties that beacon endless prosperous times extendibly glossier. But as she relents, governmental bargaining steering these discussions stays unresolved. He perplexes, detectable inflamed as melty and tailored factions bind partly into traditional pitfalls that cloaked fairness in royalty skating when dire setbacks reiterate how seriously even measured retelling of ongoing disputes about sheltering Melremark unfeigned coalesce surviving, warranted battling assure imbibed peace. Thus, peculiar pages from deciphering requisite lineage elevate how distribute scandal acidly dissolvable bedeck ingrained diplomatic alternates witnessing vendettas strategizing dynamics instigated by heft collecting coherent collaborative chapters reigning alongside dormancy adopt conquest. In this intense part of our journey, Naofumi and Queen Morelia engage in a crucial conversation about the state of their world. Morelia discloses the rift between Melremark and Siltveld, two nations whose ideologies have crystallized into mistrust and animosity. In Melremark, humanity reigns supreme, while demihumans suffer discrimination. Meanwhile, in Siltveld, the reverse is true, and Melremark's hostility is met with disdain. The Queen reveals how the Church of the Three Heroes subtly manipulated their teachings, sidelining the shield hero due to deep-seated biases. Instead of worshipping all four heroes, as tradition held, they began to marginalize one, impacting Naofumi directly. Morelia recounts, "The accusations against you seem to have been planned," referring to the trials Naofumi faced due to the church's malicious influence. Melty also chimes in, supporting her mother's explanation and expressing her regret for Naofumi's trials. She sympathizes with Naofumi, recognizing the struggles both he and her mother endured. Morelia worked so hard that she even ran a fever due to the stress of politics and negotiation. As the dialogue continues, Naofumi reflects on his unfortunate role within this larger scheme. While the other heroes enjoyed relative acclaim, he faced undue villainization. Undeterred, he agrees to cooperate, acknowledging the complexity of their world's socio-political landscape. Naofumi and the Queen address the pressing matter of what truly happened in Melremark, discussing the orchestrations that led to his summons. Queen Morelia recounts how uninformed actions fueled distrust. "They didn't know why I was being discriminated against." Naofumi queries, revealing the deep-rooted misunderstanding among his peers. Conversations naturally drift towards the other heroes, Ren, Motoyasu, and Itsuki, and their collective obliviousness about the church's manipulation. Together, Morelia and Naofumi formulate a strategy to unify their allies rather than furthering divisions. Later, Naofumi is visited by Fitoria, the guardian of Philolials, who brings urgent news of a new Philolial queen seen in the southwest. With her unique insight, Fitoria offers a glimpse into the dangers looming over them all, reminding Naofumi of the harsh reality they face with the ongoing waves. As quiet settles briefly over the kingdom, Naofumi and his companions prepare to part ways with Melty. Having formed close bonds, Melty and Philo struggle with their separation. Tearfully, Philo pledges, "Even if we can't travel together, you'll always be my friend, right?" To which Melty passionately affirms their enduring friendship despite the inevitable distance. Melty expresses her commitment to changing things in her kingdom. "I'll work with my mother to allow demihumans and humans to live together. I'll change it. I promise." Her determination underscores the hope for future unity, reflecting a common desire shared by Naofumi and his allies. As the zenith of their meeting draws near, Naofumi feels a sense of starting anew. "I'd finally made it to the starting line," he narrates internally, contemplating his journey fraught with challenges yet brimming with potential for growth and understanding. Our journey plunges into an epilogue featuring Fitoria in a battle against relentless monsters from the waves. Her immense power shines through, coupled with the startling realization of a potential new Filolial queen, a sign that the world's intrinsic balance might be shifting. Vittoria navigates the complexities of her kind's societal norms and later intercepts Naofumi's party. She imparts cryptic yet crucial information about threats beyond their immediate understanding, suggesting that harmony with demihumans and unity among the heroes is more critical than ever. As Naofumi stands amidst friends and allies, determined to withstand the challenges ahead, he resolves to face whatever comes. The tides that threaten his world bear not only destruction but the possibility of redemption and profound change, a future that rests in the hands of heroes willing to forge alliances and grasp fleeting peace. Vittoria watches the group closely, driven by a mix of determination and nostalgia. She notices the pink Filolial, a stunning creature atop which a person is riding, and realizes, with a start, that this person is Naofumi, the shield hero. Her thoughts drift back to the day she was born, greeted by warmth and destiny. The memories flood over her, igniting a sense of resolve. Once upon a time, there was no doubt in the world that the shield hero was revered and integral in their plight against looming dangers. Yet, now Vittoria sees how exhausted and haggard each person looks. Naofumi's party, alongside the loyal Filolial, appears beleaguered, reflecting the struggle and sacrifice they have endured through the use of the Curse series. This sacrifice, however, wasn't futile, just incredibly taxing. Their condition suggests the intensity of battles they faced, and it is evident that this journey hasn't been kind to them. Vittoria feels an ache in her heart, relating to Naofumi's burden. The weight of the Curse series lays heavily upon him, igniting painful memories within Vittoria. This internal conflict stirs an urge she hasn't experienced in a long while, the maternal instinct to guide and protect. Despite momentarily succumbing to sentimentality, Vittoria quickly regains her composure, conscious of the mission she's undertaken, a promise made eons ago to protect the heroes and their purpose. As she observes Naofumi engage with the obstinate opposition, Vittoria remains alert, invoking her magical abilities to ensure no external force disrupts their confrontation. Sanctuary, she whispers, casting a protective spell over the vicinity, designed to shield and preserve the integrity of the battlefield. Yet, her mind swirls with questions. Why hadn't the other heroes heeded this imperative call? Why was Naofumi, with his limited resources and party, being left to bear an immense burden by himself? In her musings, Vittoria contemplates the stakes. If dire situations escalate beyond containment, she knows intervention becomes inevitable, even if it means clashing swords with those she hopes to protect. As troubling thoughts cloud her, Vittoria steels herself. The conflict's weight puts a heavy determination into her actions. If protection is to be total, sacrifices may have to be critically reassessed. Rooted in an old promise made long ago to a hero she once revered, Vittoria knows these decisions carry weight not just for her, but for the fate of worlds. As old memories intertwine with present anxieties, she watches them from a distance, contemplating future actions that align squarely with the promise she holds dear. Supposing things grow unsustainable, Vittoria reminisces an oath, a venerable bond between herself and a hero, one to guide and guard, to stand firm in legacy even among shadows that threaten to engulf. Recollection strengthens her resolve. Whatever unfolds, she will not waver.